Okay, last thing for setting up our environment is creating the TryHackMe account. As I already mentioned, on this website we have a couple of free practice examples that we can use to elevate our skills and to learn even more about website vulnerabilities. But for the start, we only want to create an account, and later on we will use it throughout the course. For now on, let's just create it. So this will be a rather short video. All you want to do is you want to navigate to tryhackme.com. It will open up this page where you want to go on Join Now. Since you don't have an account, you want to set it up right here. So it requires an username, email, password, experience level, and to select that you're not a robot, hopefully. Now, make sure that you use a valid email because it will ask you for verification after creating an account. Once you do that, you can log into your account, and I will do that right now. And once you log in, you should have something like this. Now, after you verify your email, you can go and browse to learn, to compete, and you can check out all of the modules that this website has. So we can go under the modules, which we went to by going on Learn, and we have some Linux fundamentals, networking fundamentals, web hacking fundamentals, which is the module that we are interested in for this course. But you also have some other modules that might interest you after. For now on, we're mostly focused on web hacking, so you want to go to that module, and here we have a couple of free exercises. Now these are the exercises that we're going to touch inside of the course. This is what the platform offers us for free, and we're only going to use what the platform offers us for free, and later on if you decide that you like this platform, you can upgrade to premium, but for this course it will not be needed. Under the dashboard, you have some other things such as how many users there are, what rank you have, and rank is simply just based on how many points you get by solving different challenges in different rooms, and room is something that other people create to make practice examples on hosted vulnerable machines. Once you solve them, you get points. Once you get points, you become a higher rank. So this is just the basic things about the platform. For now on, it's just important that you have an account, and later on we're going to join a room and start exploring different vulnerabilities that different rooms offer us. If you created everything successfully, we are fully done with setting up our environment, and in the next section we can start off with website enumeration and information gathering. See you there. Okay, just a quick break. We have finished creating our environment, and we are now ready to start getting into all the website hacking and bug hunting. But there are a couple of prerequisites that you might need to do first in case you're a complete beginner, and now is the best time to do them. However, if you do feel confident knowing the basics of these things, feel free to continue with the next section where we start website enumeration and information gathering. And after that, we dive straight into website penetration testing and bug hunting. However, as I mentioned, we need to be aware of bonus requirements first, and lectures about them will be inside the bonus sections, which are some very basic website development or website structure knowledge. We must know what HTML is, what JavaScript is, and other languages used in web development. We must know what they are for and how we can recognize them. Besides that, we must also be familiar with Linux a little bit. We must know the basic commands of Linux terminal and get familiarized with Linux structure itself. And the last thing is that we must know networking a little bit as well. Nothing too advanced, but we must know some basic things regarding IP addresses, local networks, DNS, HTTP, and so on and so on. All three of these topics we have in the course added as bonus sections. The web development videos and the Linux videos are in video format, while networking theory we offer in PDF format available to download. After you learn and get all three of them done, and you feel comfortable with them, then we can proceed to website penetration testing lectures. Okay, awesome. Just wanted to mention this, and nonetheless, we continue our journey in the next section where we will learn how to enumerate websites and gather as much information about them as we can. Website enumeration. What is it and why do we do it? And also, why is this something that we should do before attacking the website? Well, it's quite simple. We want to learn as much as we can about our target before we perform any type of the attack. We want to know what we are dealing with and what is the structure behind the website that might look simple on first glance. Does it have forms that we can attack? Where is it located? What is the website used for? Basically, any information about the website could be useful for us. Imagine it like this. We, as penetration testers, have been given a task to test for vulnerabilities on some website. And usually for us to be able to discover any vulnerabilities on the website or any bugs, we must directly interact with it. Which simply just means we must open it up and experiment with different things that the website has. Usually, first thing that we want to do is discover the IP address of that website or domain. We can do that by using tools like NSLOOKUP or Host, which we will take a look at later, but this is very simple to do. We just throw the domain name inside the tool, and it will give us its IP address. Keep in mind that some bigger websites could have multiple IP addresses due to them being located and hosted on multiple servers. For example, Facebook, being a big website, has ranges of IP addresses. With an IP address, what we can do is we can, for example, locate the website physical location. We can throw that IP address in a scanner and discover some technical information about the server hosting that website, such as, for example, discovering open ports and services running on those open ports. And after we do that, we can, for example, look at the website structure. What is it made of? Does it have JavaScript? Does it have some third applications that it's running that could potentially be vulnerable? All of that we want to know. We also want to know if perhaps the website has some login pages. Does it have a registration form where users sign up? Maybe we can try and find an administrator login page somewhere which shouldn't be accessible to regular users like us. Does it maybe have any other input fields outside of the registration forms? Why are we looking for user input fields? Wherever website allows us to input something or to type something in, that is the place where we want to interact with it and perhaps make it run something that it shouldn't be running. An example of user input field would be, let's say, a website that has movies on it. And you have the search field where you type in a movie name, and that search field is user input field. And we would definitely be interested in checking it out and to see whether we can do something else besides searching for a movie. We also want to figure out where is that website hosted, on what type of server, what operating system is that machine running that's hosting the website. Does the server have some other ports open besides the ports that are used to host the website? Another possible thing that the website does, especially if it has some registration form or login form, is that it interacts with the database. It probably has a database that's storing all the user's information such as usernames, passwords, emails, phone numbers, and so on. So maybe we can get that database to respond to us with the information that it shouldn't give us, such as, for example, other users' passwords. You never know. All of these things is something that we want to check. We also want to see if the website has good encryption. Maybe it has a weak encryption or no encryption at all, and someone with an attack like man in the middle could capture in plain text passwords that are going through that website. Okay, I just gave you some examples as to why we want to learn as much as we can about our target website. Now, to do this, we can use different tools. Some of the tools that we will use are Nmap, Nikto, Derb. We will also be visiting website regularly over our browser. And we will also cover possibly the most important tool for bug bounty hunters, which is Burpsuit. Anyway, let's not get lost in too much information straight away, and let's start off with our website enumeration, one task at a time. See you in the next video. Okay, it's time we start our website enumeration. And the very first thing that we should do is to take a look at the website through our browser. So we want to see what pages it has. What does it open when we visit its IP address? This is very basic stuff that we want to check first. So to do that, we can go to our Firefox and make sure that you have your OWASP BWA machine started, and once you have it started, then we can visit the IP address of OWASP BWA. In my case, that is 192.168.1.4. We already showed how we can check out the IP address of this virtual machine, so once you do that, type in the IP address in your Firefox and it should visit this page. So this is the first thing that we take a look at. We already noticed that we have a bunch of links right here. So this page has a bunch of other pages that could be hosting different services, that could be offering different things, and that could potentially have multiple login forms or something similar. So for example, let's pick any one of these. Let's go to this one under the realistic intentionally vulnerable applications. If we click on it, and let me just enlarge this a little bit so you can see everything better. Well, we visit some type of an application, some type of a page that our OWASP BWA has. And the first thing that catches my eye is something like this. We have a search button. And we also have a login button. What does this mean? Well, it means that this could potentially lead us to some type of a brute force attack where we will try to gain access to a certain account on this page. Perhaps they have weak passwords and we can log in if we brute force the account. You never really know. We can also create an account. So this page is already looking interesting to us. We also have some type of a file that we can send. Currently no file is selected, but we can see right here that we have some input as well, and then we have a button to send files. All of these things we would want to play around and see what we can do with them. Let's take a look at another page as well. So if we go back, and let's for example go to this one, we straight away get a login form. So this also tells us that there could be a potential brute force attack or weak credentials attack here as well, since it does offer us a username and password field. Let's go back, since we don't really know any username and password here. We don't really know what this is. It could be some administrator page. It basically could be anything whatsoever. We can also do something like this. For example, go back and let's say we want to try to find some secret administrator page. We can try something like /admin. And in this case, we don't really get anything. It says /admin is not found, but it was worth to try it out. Now, let's check this out on a real website, since this is specifically made vulnerable. So we already know that we will find vulnerabilities in OWASP, but let's go and, for example, search for tesla.com. So this is an official website, it is registered, and if we visit it, so we get some prompt right here that asks us to select our region. Let's just click X right here. And what we would usually be looking for is, once again, we would try to find some type of a login form or some type of a search field or any part of web application where we can interact with. So we already see right here something like a Tesla account. And it does ask us to log in. So we do have some type of a login form. Now, login forms are not the only thing that we are looking for, but for now, it's the first thing that catches our eye. Now, for real websites, we can also perform some advanced search using Google. This is also called Google dorking. It's using Google advanced search techniques to discover information that we might find useful. For example, let's go to Google. And let's go with Tesla first. So let's type in site and then 2 dots, tesla.com. And let's say we want to find all the PDF files from this website right here. We would type site 2 dots tesla.com and then file type 2 dots PDF. If I press enter, it will give us all the results of PDF files that this page has. And we can see that these indeed are PDF files. It says right here, as we can see. And perhaps we could find something useful in these PDF files. You never know. Maybe there is some PDF file that has information disclosure and perhaps it gives us some information that we find useful. We can also try to find some emails from this website. How do we do that? Well, we can do something like this. We could open double quotes at tesla.com and then we could dash site and then 2 dots tesla.com. Press enter. And let's see. Right now we do not manage to find something interesting for Tesla. And here is one email we did manage to find, but that's just one email. It still could be useful for us, but we're looking for a little bit more. So we can instead try to go with some university websites since they usually have a bunch of emails. Let's go with this one. I'm going to use a university from my country and it's located at this website. And we're going to use the same command, so at and then the addition to the email and then the site, which is the same link or same domain. I will press enter right now. And here is one email address that could also be useful. Now we can also visit these links and try to find even more, but let's just see what we can gather from here. Here's another email address. And here appears to be a start of a phone number, so we also get that. Here's another email address right here. And that would pretty much be it from the first page. Now we can, as I said, visit these links and then we can find even more email addresses, hopefully. And here's another one that we missed from the first link. Okay. Now, we tried to go to /admin before on our OWASP VM by adding /admin in front of the link or in front of the IP address. But for regular websites, there is something even better that we can try using Google. We can use Google Docs to try and find something like admin pages, but we can do that by searching admin keyword inside the title of the page or inside the URL. To do that, we simply type in title 2 dots admin or in URL 2 dots as well admin, and then we specify which site. And let's use this same website, this university website. So this is the command, and let's press enter. Then we get some responses right here. If you go to any one of them, secure connection failed. And the error that it gives us is SSL error unsupported version. This website might not support the TLS 1.2 protocol, which is the minimum version supported by Firefox. Enabling TLS 1 and TLS 1.1 might allow this connection to succeed. So let's give it a try if we enable it. And we do manage to succeed. And you can see that this link has addition to it that has admin keyword, and that is why we managed to find it. We also have a couple of input fields right here. So here we enter email address and password. And here we also enter our email address. And this is just one of the pages. Maybe there are multiple pages that have admin keyword inside of it, and that could be useful for us. So for now, this seems to be some type of an admin form. And we do also get some email address right here. I do believe this is an email address. There's not much info about it, but nonetheless, we did get here successfully. These are usually the things that you would do first to start off with website enumeration. We just gather some information about it. We perhaps try to find some additional pages, such as this admin page. Now, the most important thing is that we must start somewhere. There is not a strict rule that says how you can perform your website penetration testing and in which order you do all of these things. That's why we're going to check out most common techniques, and it will be up to you to apply them as you like. As far as this lecture, which was on Google Dorking and just inspecting website in general, you can take a look at some additional advanced Google commands that are useful for us hackers. So we can find them by, let's say, typing Google Dorks, and let's go with the first link, which is exploit-db.com. Let's visit that. And once it opens this page, we will get a saying here that this is Google Hacking Database. And down here we have a bunch of Google dorks or Google commands that we can use to extract some useful information from a certain website. For example, it gives us the command right here. Under the category it says what does it search for. So in this case, it searches for files containing passwords and the author name right here. And you have a bunch of these commands. As we can see, these are only first 15 commands out of 6,000. So you can take a look at here, perhaps find some useful commands that you might apply to your penetration tests, and you might use them later on. However, you will always have this database right here at this link, so you can visit it anytime that you like. Okay, awesome. So we took a look at Google dorking or executing some advanced Google search commands. We also took a look at our website. We browsed a few pages here and there just to see what the website has. Now, in the next video, we're going to check out how we can use multiple ways to discover some more information about our websites, such as IP addresses, such as domain names, such as its physical address, perhaps some additional emails or phone numbers, and all of that. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back. In this video, we want to check out how we can get an IP address from a certain website, as well as some additional information about it. So, since we can't really do this with our OWASP because this is a virtual machine that's hosting a website inside of our local network, so it doesn't really have a domain name, or should I say a link. We already have its IP address right here, so we're just going to take a look at how we can get an IP address from some random website online. To do that, let's first open up our terminal, and there are a couple commands that you will use a lot. First command, which we already performed in a previous lecture, is called ping. Now, ping command allows us to determine whether a host is online or offline. For example, if I type ping and then the IP address of my OWASP virtual machine and press enter, it will continue pinging the virtual machine, which we can determine that this machine is up and running. Now to stop this, let's press Ctrl C, and besides using ping and then the IP address, we can also use ping with a website name. For example, we can type ping google.com and it will perform the same thing. And as we can see, we're also getting the response from google.com, and in the brackets, we're also getting an IP address. So with this command, we did manage to get an IP address of google.com. Now, one thing to take in is that this command, or the ping command, doesn't necessarily always tell us the truth. Some websites might block ping probes and we might not be able to ping them, however they could still be online. And we're going to take a look at that later on, but just keep it in mind for now that if the pinging doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean that the website is offline. Okay, now another command that you can use to determine the IP address of a website is called host. If you type host, and let's right now use, for example, Tesla. So host tesla.com. It will tell us tesla.com has an address of 199.66.11 and then 62. It also gives us some additional information such as tesla.com mail is handled by this. Okay, so this is additional information, but we were mostly interested in this. Don't worry if you get a different IP address for these bigger websites, it's normal, because they're not hosted only on one IP address. And the third way that we can determine is with the help of a command called nslookup. So if I type nslookup.com, it will give me a response of my server or my DNS server, or in this case my router, which is hosted at the IP address of 192.168.1.1. And the answer to our question will be down here. The name that we searched is tesla.com, and we got an IP address of 199.66.11 and then 62, which is the same IP address as we got right here. But besides getting an IP address, we can also extract some additional information that is publicly available. We can do that by using a tool called Whois. Now, Whois tool is used for gathering information about details of website registration that the owner of website provides. This usually provides us with some additional contacts such as emails, phone numbers, and also some physical addresses. Let's give it a try. So let's type whoistesla.com. Then we get a bunch of reply right here. We can already see that we're getting some phone numbers right here. If we scroll a little bit up, we're getting name servers, we're getting some postal code, street, city, basically the physical address, including some phone numbers as well. We get information about admin, so we can see the admin name, the organization, street, city, and phone number. Some other information as well, domain status. If we go up, okay, so here is even more information. We get name servers right here. I believe these are the same as the ones that we passed below. We get more phone numbers, some email address as well. So we do get some information right here about the website. Usually these large outputs will be given for larger websites. For example, if you were to try Whois command on some not that known website, it probably wouldn't give as much information as we got right here. As always, besides of using command line tools, oops, what happened here? Let's clear the terminal. And besides using the command line tools that we will always use, you can also take a look at some website that will also give you information about a different website. That is also called passive information gathering. Why passive? Once we pinged our website and we used host and NSLOOKUP and Whois from our command line, we performed active information gathering because we pretty much interacted with the website the whole time. But once you do the same thing through a different website, it's called passive information gathering, because our target website won't be able to see who searched that information for them, because we never interacted with that website. We went through a third-party website that did all of that for us. So for example, we can type website's IP and find some website that will determine the IP of our target. Let's visit this first one, which is at link site24x7.com. And it pretty much does what it says. It finds an IP address. So if we were to type, for example, www.google.com, find IP, it would give us the IP address of www.google.com. And we can also get some other information if we go to DNS analysis right here. So we do get something right here. Here are the name servers. We got 4 of them, as we should get. We also get reverse lookup. So we can also perform DNS analysis right here and gather information from this third-party website as well. Okay, awesome. But these are all basic things. So we're pretty much just getting the IP address of the website. For now on, we also performed some Google dorking in order to find some useful information that we might need. We did perform Whois command that gave us some additional information such as phone numbers, email addresses, and physical location, but these are all basic stuff. We want to get to the technical side of a website. And in the next lecture, we're going to check out a tool called WhatWeb. That is the tool that you will also use a lot, and it's pretty useful in discovering technologies that are behind the website. Nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Welcome back. In this video, we will cover a tool called WhatWeb. And as I mentioned in the previous lecture, we use WhatWeb to determine which technologies does a website have. So it's still information gathering, but from a technical aspect. And WhatWeb is a tool that we already have pre-installed in Kali Linux, and we can run it with the help of a terminal. So let's do it straight away. As usual, make sure that your OWASP virtual machine is running, and all we need to do to run the WhatWeb tool is to type WhatWeb, and then the IP address of the target that we want to scan. In my case, this is 192.168.1.4, which is the IP address of my OWASP virtual machine. If I press enter, since this machine is in my local network, it will take just a few seconds for this command to finish, and we do get some information here. As we can see, this is the link that WhatWeb tool tried to visit. It got 200 OK code, which means it successfully loaded the page. It discovered the Apache version, which is 2.2.14. If we go right here, we got country, we got email addresses, so it does manage to even get some email addresses out of this page. The HTTP server appears to be running Ubuntu Linux. We get the Apache version once again, and we get the IP address, the jQuery version, the OpenSSL version, the PHP version, and some other versions as well. As we can see, the target machine is running Python 2.6.5. So this allows us to discover technologies behind a certain website. And what could be our next step is to take perhaps Apache version, Google this version and see whether it has any known vulnerabilities that exist. Now, this is just a regular command with WhatWeb. What we can do to discover what else we can do with WhatWeb, we can run this command, which is whatweb --help. Once you type it in, it will give you all of the possible things that you can do with this tool. So we have a bunch of other options that we can use, such as input file, URL prefix. We got the aggression mode, so the aggression level controls the trade-off between speed and stealth and reliability. There are 3 aggression modes: the stealthy, aggressive, and heavy. Now, you can go through this menu if you'd like. This is just a short help menu of the tool. But if you want to know even more about the tool, you can use a command called man, which is shortened for manual. If you type man and then the tool name, it will open the manual for WhatWeb. And under the description, we can see WhatWeb identifies websites. Its goal is to answer the question, what is that website? WhatWeb recognizes web technologies, including content management systems, blogging platforms, statistic analytic packages, JavaScript libraries, and many other things. In the second paragraph, we also got some explanation on the aggression level, or on the aggression option that we saw from the help menu. So as it says, WhatWeb can be stealthy and fast, or thorough but slow. WhatWeb supports an aggression level to control the trade-off between speed and reliability. When you visit a website in your browser, the transaction includes many hints of what web technologies are powering that website. And that's exactly what WhatWeb does. It enumerates those technologies and it outputs them back to us. Sometimes a single web page visit contains enough information to identify a website, but when it does not, WhatWeb can interrogate the website further. And that is where the other aggression levels come. The default level of aggression, called passive, is the fastest and requires only one HTTP request of a website. This is suitable for scanning public websites. Now, this part right here is important. We can use the default aggression level to scan public websites if we'd like. But if we want to use more aggressive levels, as it says right here, more aggressive modes were developed for in-penetration tests. So you should not use the aggressive modes on a website that you do not have permission to scan. Okay, awesome. So let's take a look at what else can we run with WhatWeb. So let's go back to the help menu. And we do get some examples of usage right here, but what we want to do, as it interests us the most at the moment, is let's try to use aggression level 3. For example, since we used 1 before, which was default, let's increase it a little bit and let's move the aggression level to 3. Then we can also type -v, which stands for verbose, which means it will output even more things. And at the end, let's add the IP address. Oops, we misspelled aggression, so let's add another S and let's let it to run. Okay, the output came once again relatively fast because the target is in my local network, so let's see what else do we have. Straight away we notice much more output than once we ran the command previously, and we got it ordered by detected plugins. So we can see the detected plugins. We got Apache first, then comes the description of Apache, we got the version right here, and we got the website of Apache as well. So we do get some more information about each of the discovered plugins. Up here we get pretty much the information that we already got from the first scan, and down here we can read more about every plugin that it managed to find, including email addresses, HTML version, jQuery, OpenSSL, PHP, and all of that. And in case there is a plugin that you do not recognize, you can read through the description and figure out what it is used for. Besides of using WhatWeb on only one IP address, you can also use WhatWeb on multiple IP addresses if you'd like. You can type the same command and, for example, let's say you have multiple websites in your local network that you want to scan with one command. You can do so by typing your network range, which in my case is this one, and then it will perform scanning of all of the IP addresses inside of your network. And you can notice that I'm getting a lot of errors right here. These are all the IP addresses that are not hosting any website. As you can see, it tries to visit this IP address over HTTP, but it can't find the route to the host. Therefore, it throws us an error. Now, just so you don't have to see all of these errors, what you can do is you can run the same command and add at the end --no -errors. This will remove all of these errors so it doesn't get printed out to us. It just simply gives a better output. And here you will get response for every device on your network that has a website hosted. In my case, that should only be our OWASP virtual machine as well as perhaps my router. Let me see, we got the IP address of 192.168.1.4, and down here we got my router's IP address, which is 192.168.1.1. Now, of course, with the IP range, let me just go down here, clear the screen. Your IP range might be a completely different one. It doesn't have to be the same one that I have. So make sure that you check that out first, and then you can run this command with your IP range. Okay, awesome. And this is what we use the WhatWeb tool for. It helped us discover different plugins that a website has. Now, WhatWeb can be considered one of the tools that are used for advanced website enumeration because it does give us a lot of information back. However, we are slowly getting closer to ending website enumeration. There are a couple more tools that we want to discuss. Of course, you do not have to use all of these tools. We're just showing different options that you can use. And besides all of the tools that we will cover, there are also a bunch of other tools that you might find useful, so feel free to use any one of them that you like. Now, in the next video, we're going to check out a tool called Derp. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Okay, time to cover another tool used for website enumeration, which is called Derp. Now, this will be a rather quick video because this tool is not that big, but it is really useful. We use Derp to discover hidden directories on a website. Or you can also consider it as a tool that is used to brute force directory names and see whether certain directory names exist on a website or if they don't. Now, as with almost any other tool that we use, we can run Derp straight from our terminal. And to open the help menu, we can just type Derp, which will give us all of the available options that we can use with this tool. But since website enumeration is not our main part of the course, we really want to get straight into bug hunting. We'll just cover the basic of this tool, which you probably will always use like this. However, if you do want, check out all of the other options to see what else you can do with the Derp tool. But for this video, what we want to do is we want to discover some hidden directories. And to do that, all we have to type is derp and then HTTP and then the IP address of our OWASP virtual machine. If we type it like this and press enter, it will start running without specifying any other option whatsoever. And you can see all of these output that we get are discovered directories on the website. Right here we can see how many generated words did Derp create, and all of these words will be tested out as a possible directory on this website. Straight away we managed to find some of them. As we can see, we have /assets on the website, we have CGI bin, we have cross domain, and if you're wondering what is this in the brackets, this simply just gives us the code, and as we already know, code 200 means that the page loaded successfully, which also means that the page exists on that website. If it were to get some other code resulting in an error, then the tool would probably determine that that page does not exist, so it doesn't print it out right here. Okay, so if we go all the way down, we can see that it already discovered a bunch of other directories, and what you would do is you would pretty much go through this and see whether you see anything interesting for us. For example, any administrator directory could possibly be interesting. Of course, if you find something that has passwords inside of its name, that would also be interesting because you never know what the website developer put there. Maybe they forgot to remove a certain directory from the test phase and they left it right there, which could possibly have perhaps the source code or some additional information such as users, or perhaps they made the entire database public. I mean, you never know. Even though it is rare, it can and it does happen sometimes. So nonetheless, let's see to which point did this tool get. And it's still discovering directories, so I'm just going to stop this because I don't really need it to finish till the end. Instead, I also want to show you another option that you can do with derp, since if you type a straight command like this, which is just derp and then the IP address over HTTP, it will use its usual list that it always uses. But what you can do is you can specify your own list right after the IP address, so you can do something like user share word lists. And this is the path to word lists in Kali Linux. So it's /user /share and then /word lists. And if you want to see all of the options that you have inside of this word list directory, you can press tab twice fast. And here you will be able to see all of these subdirectories to this word list directory. And since we are running derp, let's go to the derp subdirectory. And inside of the derp subdirectory, we have all of these txt files, and all of these txt files are certain lists. Let's go with common.txt, which I do believe is also ran by default, but nonetheless, let us just see how we can use a specified word list of our choice, and all you have to do is press enter. And it will pretty much do the same thing, just with your word list instead. It will try to find all of those directories and it will print out the ones that exist. And if you wanted to, for example, make sure that a certain directory exists, what you can do is you can copy any of these directories. For example, let's go with this one, which is /images. You can go to your Firefox and visit it like this. And we do see that images directory does exist on our OWASP virtual machine. You can do so with any other as well, such as, for example, phpMyAdmin. Let's copy the link and let's paste it right here. And it also loads the phpMyAdmin login screen. Awesome. All we're left to do is cover two more important tools. In the next video, we will cover Nmap, which will pretty much be just the basics of Nmap because that is a huge tool. It has a bunch of options and we're not getting into details with Nmap. However, we'll cover some of the basics of it in the next video, and then in the next section we're going to dive deep into a tool called burpsuite. Now, why are we going through all of these previous tools with only basic options, and with burpsuite we're going to go with advanced options? Well, it's pretty simple. Burpsuite is a tool that you will use for bug bounty. Its main purpose is to actually use it for bug bounty. While as all of these tools that we covered by now, you can use if you like, but you don't really have to. It's pretty much your choice. Nonetheless, more about burpsuite in the next section, and let's focus now on Nmap, which we will cover in the next video. See you there. Okay, big tool is ahead of us. It's time we cover Nmap. Now, what is Nmap? Well, Nmap is shortened for Network Mapper, and it's a tool used to pretty much map the network or discover open ports on the target system that you're scanning. With those open ports, we can also discover which services are running on those open ports, and Nmap can go as deep as discovering which version of a service is running on which open port on the target system. Now, Nmap does have some other options as well, but as we did mention in the previous video, we're here to only discuss the basics of Nmap and if you'd like to dive deeper into Nmap, you can take a look at our Nmap cheat sheet, or you can also learn it from the Nmap manual. We already know how to open the manual. You just type man and then the tool name, and it will open the manual for that tool. However, we are not going to read it right now. We are more interested in running the help menu of Nmap. And this will be a shorter version of what are the possibilities with this tool. As we can see, there are a lot of options that we can run. If you'd like, read through them and see what are the possibilities, but right now we're going to perform the very basic scan with Nmap just to see what output do we get and what does this tool do for us. The very basic scan would be typing the Nmap and then the IP address of our target. And as we can see, it finished in less than a second, and this is the output that we get. We scanned our OWASP virtual machine, and the only output that we get is which ports does our machine have open. And there are quite a few of them. So we have the 22 port open, which is running the service of SSH. We got our website hosted on port 80, since it's running HTTP over there. And as well, we got our website on port 443, which is running HTTPS. But we do also get some other ports open that are running different services, and that is also why Nmap is useful. Perhaps sometimes once you're scanning a website, you will discover other ports that are hosting other services, even though the website might not have bugs itself. Maybe the machine hosting the website has other services that are vulnerable to a different attack. But that is out of the aspect of this course. However, you can use Nmap to determine that, and you will use Nmap a lot if you perform penetration testing. So this very basic scan gave us the output of all of the open ports on Nmap, and it also gave us that it found 991 closed ports. Now, why is that? Well, Nmap by default scans most known 1000 ports. And out of those 1000 ports, 991 were closed, while as these 9 ports are found to be opened. If you want to dive even deeper into these open ports, and perhaps you want to discover a version of a service that is running on this open port, you can run this command, nmap-sv, and then the IP address of your target. In our case, I'm using again OWASP BWA, and if I run it, it will take longer to finish than this scan. However, it should also take about a few seconds. Let's wait for it to finish. And this is the output that we get right now. You will notice that it's quite larger than the previous one, since besides getting the same output, which is which ports are open, we also get this column right here that says version. It gave us the version of each service that it is found on open port. For example, if we take a look at SSH running on port 22, we get the exact SSH version that this target machine has, as well as we get the exact Apache version that is being hosted on port 80 for HTTP. And we do see that it does match with the output that we got, if you remember, from our WhatWeb tool. Remember that we got Apache 2.2.14. Well, Nmap gave us the same result, so we can pretty much determine that this is the correct output and that the target machine is indeed running Apache 2.2.14. We also get the versions for other ports as well. So this is pretty useful information. And we can also see that apparently HTTP is being served on these ports as well. So it's not only port 80. We also have HTTP running on port 8080, which is running Apache Tomcat, and we got HTTP being served on port 8081, which is running Jetty. Now, this is something that we didn't know before. And now if we go, for example, to our Firefox, and we try to visit our OWASP virtual machine on port 8081, so let's type it right here, 8081. Wow. So we do open another web page. This is a web page that we didn't see before. Since by default every browser opens a page on port 80, since that is the usual HTTP port. If we wanted to, for example, open a web page on a different port, we need to manually type it like this. And we do open another web page. Awesome. Let's see what else do we get. So pretty much that would be about it, all of this services version. And another thing that I want to show you that is possible with Nmap is to use something called scripts. Now, Nmap can also try to find vulnerabilities. It can be used as a vulnerability scanner. How can we do that? Well, we can type something like this, nmap --script, then we type vuln, and then the IP address of our target. Now, this will take a little bit longer to finish because it does perform all the scripts that are used for discovering vulnerabilities. And while this is running, let me show you this website called nmap.org, where you can pretty much read anything about Nmap that you like. You can go to this page and you can also find the manual here, read all of the available options with Nmap, read what it is used for in case you're interested in this. Awesome. Let's see if our scan is finishing. We did get some output right here. And by the way, you can check out the percentage of your scan by typing upper arrow, and it will tell you at what percentage is it at. So let's wait for it to finish. Okay, and this did last much longer than I thought. It took quite a few minutes, but it's finally over. And here is all the output that we get. If we scroll all the way up, let's start from the beginning. It's going to run the scripts per port. So it determines first which ports are open. Then for each port, it runs all of the scripts that are used for discovering vulnerabilities. As we can see, for HTTP port 80, it ran first the script HTTP cross domain policy. Down here, it tells us that the state is vulnerable, so perhaps we found our first vulnerability. Keep in mind that sometimes Nmap does know to give false positives, and I will show in just a second why. Let's go all the way down. We got CSRF script running right here. It tells us found the following possible CSRF vulnerabilities. So this is not really 100%, it just says that it could be possible on these links. And by the way, if you don't know what these vulnerabilities are, CSRF, XSS, don't worry, those are all the bugs that we will cover once we get to the bug bounty, and trust me, we're getting there quick. Nonetheless, let's just go through this. Here is the HTTP DOM-based XSS, and let's see right here. Found the following indications of potential DOM-based XSS. That's interesting. On this page, let's go down here. We got the SQL injection script running. It found the possible SQL injection queries on these links right here. So this is all the links that we would want to test in a real penetration testing attack. Down here we got HTTP stored XSS script, and here it says couldn't find any stored vulnerabilities. And that is false. I assure you that on the page or on OWASP, we will get certain pages that do have HTTP stored XSS. So you can never fully trust what you get from a certain tool. That's why we will be discovering all of our bugs manually and not with tools. So you can scroll all the way down and check out all the other scripts that Nmap ran and what are the results. Or if you don't want to run these type of scans, which you use every single script to discover vulnerabilities, you can, for example, copy a script name, which you can also find in the nmap.org website. You can find all of the scripts that the Nmap has, and you can run a single script by typing nmap --script, then the script name, and then your target IP address. And it will only run this one script. In case you're trying to target just one vulnerability, you can simply just run just one script that discovers that vulnerability and see what the Nmap will tell you. Once again, if I'm not mistaken, this HTTP stored XSS will give us the result that there is no such thing on the OWASP virtual machine. However, we will see later that stored XSS does indeed exist on our OWASP virtual machine. And here is the response. So this is what we get, open ports, and on the HTTP ports, because XSS is a website vulnerability, it tells us that it couldn't find any stored XSS vulnerabilities on both HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, nonetheless, these are some of the basics of Nmap and how you can use Nmap. Now, I strongly recommend that you dive deeper into this tool, and we will be leaving some resources for you to take a look at in order to learn Nmap, since it can be useful not only for website penetration testing, but for penetration testing and ethical hacking in general. This is one of the most important tools that hackers use. Nonetheless, as I mentioned, you will have resources where you can learn more about this tool, and in the next video, right before we get into Burp Suite, there is one more tool that we need to cover, which is called Nikto. See you in the next video. Alright, last tool before we get into Burp Suite and bug hunting. So, Nikto. What is it? Nikto is a tool that performs comprehensive tests against web servers. It searches for server misconfigurations, it checks for outdated versions of servers, it scans for dangerous files and programs on a web page. It has many useful features that we can read at this page. This is a page on Kali.org website, and it has a Nikto tool description. Under here, we have its features, so we can read through them. It has SSL support, full HTTP proxy support, checks for outdated server components, which we already mentioned. You also have the option to save your reports in different file types. We can go all the way down, identifies installed softwares via headers and files, host authentication with basic and NTLM, subdomain guessing, so it pretty much performs website enumeration and vulnerability assessment all together. However, the most important thing that it gives us is which softwares are outdated. Okay, but we want to see the basic use of it, and if you find this tool useful, feel free to check out all of the other options that you can use with the combination of your scans. And for us, to run the tool help menu, we can open the terminal and we can type Nikto. This will open a small help menu for us, and here we can see some of the options that we can use with this tool. However, for our basic scan, the most important option for us, and the one that we must specify, is the -host option. As we can see, its description says that -host specifies target host or URL. So let's scan our OWASP virtual machine. We're going to type Nikto -host and then the IP address of your OWASP machine. In my case right now it's 192.168.1.5. If you press enter, it will start the Nikto scan. And Nikto tool is made to perform these scans fast, so they will usually not take more than a couple of minutes at max. So let's wait for this to finish, and then we're going to read through some of the information that we got right here. And it's done. It took around 30 seconds, and this is the output that we get. At the very beginning, we got some target information, as well as the server configuration. It tells us which versions is it using, and down here it describes each of those versions and what it managed to find that might be interesting for us. As we can see, let's go from here. The anti-clickjacking X-frame options header is not present. The XSS protection header is not defined, and it gives us a description why this might be useful. As it says, this header can hint to the user agent to protect against some forms of XSS. And XSS is once again the attack that we will cover later. Down here it tells us some of the versions that it is running, pretty much the same output that Nmap tool gave us. We got the Apache 2.2.14, and it tells us that this version appears to be outdated. Current is at least Apache 2.4.37. It tells us pretty much for any plugin that our OWASP has that it appears to be outdated. And what does an outdated mean to a penetration tester? Well, it means probably a bunch of vulnerabilities, because most of the time a certain plugin gets updated and gets a newer version because of a previous bug or a previous vulnerability. If we go all the way down, it tells us that the Python version that it's running appears to be outdated, the Perl version appears to be outdated, pretty much everything is outdated. we get the allowed HTTP methods, which is get, head, post, options, and trace. And down here, that would be pretty much it. It also gives us some output as to which directories might be interesting for us that Nikto managed to discover. For example, this phpMyAdmin is a directory that we already found, and it tells us that this might be interesting for us. Down here. Okay, awesome. And this would be a simple Nikto scan. It gave us some information, mostly that many plugins are outdated. And if you want to combine Nikto scan with other options that Nikto offers us, feel free to use them. These other options are there in order to make a scan more precise. For example, if we run Nikto menu once again, we can see, let's say this option port defines which port we are scanning. By default, it's set to port 80, which is a default HTTP port. But remember that our Nmap scan gave us a result that there is HTTP servers running also on port 8081. Well, we can scan that as well with Nikto. All we have to do is type nikto-host and then the IP address of our target. And we can also add the -port option and specify which port we want to scan. Once we press enter, it will target that port and it will print us the information about that port only. And here is the result. It's much less information than with our previous scan, but we do got some things here as well. For example, this is the same as in the previous scan. We got that Jetty version appears to be outdated. We also got which allowed HTTP methods does it have. And we got some interesting directories, for example, /admin, /css, /admin.index.html. It tells us that it found an admin login page on this directory. Okay, awesome. We are done with website enumeration. All we are left to do now is to set up our Burp Suite tool, get introduced to its basics, and we are fully ready for discovering website vulnerabilities straight after that. See you in the next video.